The mayor is just upset that I never dated him. The truth is that the mayor and I have been friends for many years. Before he was mayor, I'm not allowed to make political statements of any kind. As a member of ABC News, if I do, they revoke my do not stand in line pass at Disney World. But I just wish there were a way he could run again. When the mayor asked me to talk about Senator Clinton, I really was so honored and happy to. Even as I said, I'm not going to make any political statements, but we go back quite a few years and we did many interviews together, and I think you know the regard that I have for you. Nevertheless, I'm going to talk about some of the things that we didn't say in the interviews, okay? I'll go back to 1996, when the First Lady had written a book called It Takes a Village, a book that's still in print, is it not? And a very important book. We were supposed to do an interview at the White House. It was perhaps the worst storm that they had had in generations. I took the train, I trudged to the White House, I was wearing pants, I got drenched, the mud was up to my ankles, and I thought, I've got to do this interview in pants. I'm not wearing a skirt, this is the First Lady, this is a sign of great disrespect. I sat down to do the interview, and down those winding steps came the First Lady in a pantsuit. I think it was the first time that she ever wore a pantsuit for an interview on television, and I have ever since taken full credit for her wardrobe. Don't like it? My fault. Oscar De La Renta's here, he thinks he did it, he did not. That's all I know. 2003, Mrs. Clinton had written a book called Living History, and I was very pleased and honored that she chose me to do the interview. The first part of it was non-political and not really very controversial, but very touching for me, because we took Mrs. Clinton back to Park Ridge, Illinois, where she grew up, and we walked down a quiet street in the house in which she spent her childhood and her adolescent years. And then we went to the movie theater where she used to have teenage dates. And then next door was a kind of, I don't know, pub, a salon, saloon, right? Little cafe where we had Mrs. Clinton's favorite dish, olive burgers. She loved them. I prefer mine with cheese. But we talked at that time about when she began to drift away from the family's republicanism, and when she met at Yale a fellow named Bill Clinton, whom she wasn't taken with that much at first, not with his mind and not with his hair. What she remembered most were his beautiful hands, and he does, by the way, and I have spoken with him. But it got to be very sweet and very vulnerable. And for me, that whole trip there was the most interesting part of our interview, leaving the politics and whatever else aside. Then each year, Ambassador Richard Holbrooke gave a very private birthday party for Mrs. Clinton and invited people he thought were friends, and it was never photographed and it was never written about. But Peter Stone, the late Peter Stone, who was so wonderful and funny and loved Hillary Clinton, always talked about her as the first chickser. So, and no one laughed more than Hillary Clinton. So this is what I want to say. Whether she is first chickser, or first lady, or senator, or whatever other first that history will bring to her, we all want to say, welcome home. You are very much loved. We're all happy to be here. Look at this crowd on a hot August night and know how happy we are that you're back with us and that you're in Washington. Thank you. We'll go someplace and get olive burgers. There's got to be someplace that serves them. There are many distinguished people who I'm sure would like to come up and say some words about the senator, but I want to introduce two people who have very special feelings about her because Hillary Clinton means a great deal to all of her constituents, and their story is something I think you will want to hear. Please let me introduce Lauren and Greg Manning.